The Cruel Joke. The great halls of the Galactic Court were filled with cold light and cruel laughter. Tall alien figures with glowing eyes and shining armor sat on thrones of silver. They were the rulers of many worlds, proud and arrogant. Among them stood a young princess, her head lowered in shame. She was different from the others. She was born infertile, unable to continue her royal bloodline. For her people, this was the greatest curse. From the moment of her birth, whispers had followed her like shadows. A useless princess, a broken one, not fit to rule. No matter what she did, the court never let her forget her flaw. On this day, the council had gathered not for justice, but for mockery. They planned to send the princess away, not as punishment, but as entertainment. The leader of the council, a tall alien with a voice like thunder, stood up and declared, "Let us send her to Earth. Let her live with the humans. Those weak, primitive creatures will match her worth." The chamber burst into laughter. To them, humans were nothing but insects, fragile, emotional, and hopeless. Sending a royal princess to Earth was not exile. It was a joke. The princess kept her eyes down. Her heart was heavy, yet her spirit did not break. She did not cry. She did not beg. But inside, her soul burned with shame. She wanted to scream, to fight, to prove them wrong. Yet all she could do was bow her head and accept the cruel fate chosen for her. A silver ship was prepared. The court watched with mocking smiles as she walked toward it, her steps echoing in the empty hangar. She carried no honor, no future, only humiliation. As the ship lifted into the stars, the court whispered among themselves, "She will fade into nothing. She will never return. Her name will be forgotten." But the stars had other plans. Far away, on a small blue planet called Earth, a man was waiting, though he did not know it yet. He was an ordinary human with no throne, no power, no wealth. Yet something inside him was extraordinary, something even the galaxy had overlooked. When the princess arrived, she stepped out onto unfamiliar soil. The air was thick, the sky wide, and the people so different from her kind. She felt like a shadow among the living, alone, lost, a broken jewel thrown into the dirt. But then she met him. He did not laugh at her. He did not mock her. He did not see her as broken. His eyes were calm, filled with quiet strength. When she spoke, he listened. When she stumbled, he offered his hand. For the first time in her life, the princess felt something strange. It was not pity. It was not duty. It was something warm, something she had never known in the cold halls of the court. Respect. And respect soon grew into something even more dangerous. Something the galaxy would never forgive. The cruel joke had begun as humiliation, but fate was about to twist it into a story that would shake the stars. The unexpected bond. The princess had expected Earth to be as cruel as the Galactic Court. She thought humans would laugh at her, point at her, and treat her as useless, just like her own people. But what she found was very different. The small town where her ship landed was quiet, filled with trees, houses, and faces that stared at her with surprise. She looked strange to them, tall with silver eyes and hair like starlight. Some whispered. Some kept their distance, but no one laughed. It was on her second day on Earth that she met him. His name was Daniel, a simple man with rough hands and kind eyes. He worked as a mechanic, fixing broken machines with patience and skill. When he first saw her walking down the street, carrying nothing but a cloak from her homeworld, he did not treat her as alien royalty or as a broken failure. He only asked softly, "Do you need help?" No alien, not even her own family, had ever asked her that question. At first she ignored him. She had learned never to trust kindness. But Daniel did not push. He simply left her a bottle of water, some food, and walked away. The next day he returned, offering a place to stay until she could find her way. She should have refused. She should have remembered her humiliation. But her heart was tired, and for the first time she wanted rest. So she followed him. Daniel's home was small, nothing like the shining palaces of the court. The walls were plain, the furniture old, but it was warm. And in that warmth, the princess felt something she had never felt in the cold halls of her people. Safety. Days turned into weeks. She stayed quiet, speaking little. But Daniel did not demand answers. He cooked meals, fixed things around the house, and sometimes told stories of his childhood. His laughter was different from the cruel laughter of the Galactic Court. It was soft, honest, and alive. Slowly, she began to talk. At first only short words, then sentences, then stories. She told him of the stars, of her people, of the curse of being born infertile. She expected him to pity her or mock her, but he only listened. "You're not broken," he said one night as they sat under the stars. "Your worth isn't in what they say, it's in who you are." Those words shook her. No alien had ever spoken to her like that. In her world, worth was bloodline and power. But here, with a simple human, worth was kindness, courage, and choice. As weeks passed, something inside her began to change. She could not explain it. Her body felt different. Her heart beat faster when she looked at him. She caught herself watching him, studying the way his hands moved, the way his eyes softened when he smiled. She was afraid. Afraid of what this meant. Afraid of what her people would say if they knew. But stronger than the fear was curiosity. Could it be possible that a human, fragile and mortal, had the power to give her what her people said she could never have? One evening, as the sky turned red with sunset, Daniel found her standing in the garden staring at the horizon. "You miss your world," he said gently. She shook her head. "No, I miss what it should have been." Silence fell between them. Then Daniel said something she would never forget. "Sometimes leaving behind what broke you is the only way to heal. Maybe Earth isn't your prison. Maybe it's your beginning." The princess felt her throat tighten. For the first time, she wanted to believe that her story was not over. That she was not useless. That maybe in this strange place she could be more than the cruel joke the galaxy had made of her. But in the shadows of the trees, unseen eyes were watching. Alien spies who had followed her ship to Earth. They saw her smile at Daniel. They saw her hand brush against his, and they whispered to each other in fear. This should not be possible. If she bonds with a human, what will that mean? The council must know. The princess, unaware of the danger, walked back inside with Daniel. For the first time in her life, she felt a spark of hope. But far above Earth, ships began to move in the dark, carrying messages of warning. The galaxy was about to learn that the cruel joke was no joke at all. The silent transformation. The days on Earth passed quietly, yet something unseen was happening. The princess did not notice it at first. She thought it was only the warmth of Daniel's kindness, the safety of his home, the peace she had never known. But her body began to feel strange. At night, she would wake with her heart racing. Sometimes her skin glowed faintly with the silver light of her people, a light that should never have returned. She had been declared infertile by the finest alien doctors, broken, empty, a futureless vessel. Yet now her body whispered a different story. She did not tell Daniel. Instead, she kept the secret locked inside her, afraid of what it might mean. Fear and hope fought inside her chest. Was this real? Or was it just another cruel trick from the stars? Daniel noticed her unease. "You're not sleeping," he said one morning as he placed a cup of tea in front of her. His voice was calm, but his eyes searched hers. "I'm fine," she lied, but he knew she wasn't. He never pressed her, though. He only gave her space, as if he trusted her to speak when she was ready. And slowly that trust made her heart ache. Weeks later, she collapsed in the garden. Daniel rushed to her side, panic in his voice. Her skin shimmered with strange light, her veins glowing faintly like threads of silver fire. He carried her inside, his hands trembling, and stayed by her until the light faded. When she finally opened her eyes, she expected fear. But Daniel was only watching her with quiet concern. "You're not fine," he whispered. Tears filled her eyes, and for the first time she told him the truth. She told him about the cruel verdict of her people, about the shame of being infertile, about the exile that was meant to break her. And then, with a trembling voice, she admitted, "Something is changing. Inside me." Daniel's jaw tightened, but not with judgment. "Then we face it together," he said simply. His words pierced through her fear. He did not care if she was broken, if she was cursed, or if the galaxy hated her. To him, she was not useless. She was worth standing beside. But outside their small home, danger was already growing. Alien spies had sent word back to the council. The princess is not broken. Something has awakened in her, and it is tied to the human. The council laughed at first, refusing to believe. But when reports showed her glowing, when whispers suggested that her condition was impossible, their laughter turned to silence. Fear crept into their hearts. If the princess could change, if a human could unlock what alien science never could, it would shatter their power forever. Back on Earth, the princess began to notice undeniable signs. Her strength was increasing. Her senses sharpened. She could hear the heartbeat of a bird from across the garden, see stars in the sky more clearly than ever before, and deep within her, something more was stirring. One night she pressed her hand against her stomach and felt a faint pulse that was not her own. She froze, breath caught in her throat. Impossible. Her people's doctors had sworn she could never bear life. Yet there it was, small, fragile, but real. Tears rolled down her cheeks as the truth sank in. The cruel joke of the galaxy had given birth to a miracle. But miracles are dangerous. Daniel found her crying, and when she placed his hand on her stomach, his eyes widened in disbelief. "Is it?" She nodded, unable to speak. For a moment silence hung between them. Then Daniel pulled her into his arms. "Then we protect it." No matter what, in that moment hope and fear became one. The child growing inside her was not just a child. It was proof that humans and aliens were not so different. It was proof that the galaxy had been wrong. But already the skies above Earth were darkening. Alien ships, cloaked and silent, moved into orbit. The Council had given their order: watch her, study her, and if the impossible was true, eliminate her before the secret spread. The princess, unaware of the storm gathering above, lay awake at night with her hand over her stomach. She was afraid. Afraid of what this meant. Afraid of what was coming. But she was also stronger than she had ever been. For the first time in her life, she was not just surviving. She was carrying the future, and the galaxy was about to learn that what they called a joke was becoming their greatest threat. The child of two worlds. The night was quiet when the child was born. No golden palace, no alien healers, no royal celebration. Only a small room on Earth, the glow of a single lamp, and Daniel holding the princess's trembling hand. She had feared this moment. All her life she had been told she could never give life. Yet here, far from the stars that mocked her, she proved them wrong. The baby's cry was soft at first, then strong. Daniel's eyes filled with tears as he wrapped the child in a blanket. The princess, exhausted, reached out with trembling arms. When the child was placed in her embrace, she gasped. The baby's skin glowed faintly like hers, silver light pulsing under delicate flesh. But the eyes, oh, the eyes were unmistakably human. They carried Daniel's warmth and courage, mixed with the otherworldly fire of her bloodline. Half human, half alien, a being that was never meant to exist. The princess wept not from weakness but from awe. This child was proof. Proof that she was not broken. Proof that the cruel joke of the Council had turned into destiny. Daniel touched her shoulder. "He's perfect." She looked at him through tears. "He's dangerous," because she knew the truth. The Council would never allow this child to live. Already she could feel the shadow of eyes watching from the stars. In the weeks that followed, whispers spread across alien worlds. Hidden networks carried the news. The infertile princess has given birth, and the father is human. At first many laughed. Impossible. Lies spread by traitors. But then the reports grew stronger. Images, witnesses, proof. The laughter turned to fear. Some called the child a miracle. Others called him a threat. Entire empires debated what this meant. If humans could bond with their kind, what else could they do? Could humans create a new bloodline that even alien science had failed to achieve? The Galactic Court was shaken. The leaders who had once mocked the princess now sat in silence, their pride cracking under the weight of fear. "Such a child must not exist," one counselor growled. "If the truth spreads, everything we built will collapse," another hissed. "The child is an abomination," a third declared, but deep down, they all understood the same thing. If this child grew, if he survived, he could unite worlds that were never meant to stand together. On Earth, the princess and Daniel lived quietly, hiding the child from curious eyes. The boy grew fast, faster than any human child should. At just a few weeks, his eyes followed every sound, his small hands grasping with strength beyond his age. Sometimes when he cried, objects in the room would shake as if responding to his voice. The princess watched in silence, torn between fear and pride. She held him close at night, whispering lullabies from her homeworld, promising him safety. Yet inside, she knew safety was fragile. Daniel, however, looked at the boy with pure wonder. "He's not a curse," he said one night. "He's hope. But hope was exactly what the Council feared most. High above Earth, alien ships moved in the darkness. The spies who had reported the child now prepared for their orders. The mission was clear: capture the child or end him before his existence became unstoppable. The princess felt it. Even without seeing the ships, her instincts told her danger was near. One evening, as she watched her son sleep, a chill ran through her. She knew the galaxy would come for him. She turned to Daniel. "They will never stop. Not until he's gone." Daniel shook his head. "Then we fight for him. For us." The princess looked into his human eyes and felt something unshakable. In his arms she had found respect. In his heart she had found love. And now with their child she had found destiny. She whispered, "Then we must be ready, because he is not just ours. He belongs to two worlds now." Far away in the halls of the Galactic Court, the council met again. The leader, voice cold as stone, declared, "The joke we made has turned against us. The infertile princess has birthed a weapon. We must strike before the galaxy bows to her child." Yet outside the chambers, among the common aliens who had always lived in silence, whispers of hope spread. Some began to dream. Dream that maybe if a human and an alien could create life, then the future could be different. The council wanted control. The people wanted change. And the spark for that change was a child who had just opened his eyes to the stars. The princess held her son close, feeling his heartbeat against hers. She remembered the day they had sent her away, the laughter that had followed her down the halls of the court. They had thought her exile was the end. But tonight, as the child slept safely in her arms, she knew the truth. It was only the beginning, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The rising storm, the child grew stronger with every passing day. At only a few months old, his eyes glowed faintly at night, silver and blue mixing like fire and sky. His laughter carried energy that made lights flicker, and his small hands sometimes pulled objects toward him without touch. He was not just a child, he was a sign that something impossible had become real. The princess often watched him in silence, her heart torn between fear and pride. She knew what he represented. He was the proof of her worth, the answer to the shame she had carried her whole life. But he was also a danger, a target painted for the whole galaxy to see. Daniel treated the boy not as a miracle or a weapon, but as a son. He held him close, sang to him softly, and whispered promises of safety. Yet deep down, Daniel also knew their quiet days would not last. The galaxy was stirring. The storm was coming. High above Earth, cloaked ships circled in the darkness of space. Alien assassins prepared, armed with weapons designed for silent kills. Their orders were clear: find the child and erase him before the galaxy could learn his name. But the council was not united. Some members demanded the child's death. Others whispered of keeping him alive for study. And a few, hidden in the shadows, dared to hope he might be the key to freedom from the council's iron rule. Rumors spread fast. Among oppressed alien colonies, voices rose. The princess has a child. With a human, if she can break the chains of fate, maybe we can too. Hope was dangerous, and hope was spreading. One night, the princess awoke to the sound of footsteps outside. Her instincts sharpened, too sharp to ignore. She rushed to the crib, finding her child asleep, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Daniel grabbed a weapon, his jaw tight. "They've found us." The door shook with a sudden blast. Shadows poured inside, tall figures with cold eyes and blades of energy. Alien assassins. The princess moved with a strength she didn't know she had. Energy burst from her hands, throwing one assassin across the room. Daniel fought with desperate courage, using only human strength against alien steel. The battle was chaos. Shouts, light, the sound of breaking walls. When it ended, 2 assassins lay dead and the others fled into the night. But the message was clear. The hunt had begun. The princess held her crying child, trembling. Daniel, blood on his arm, whispered, "This won't stop. They'll keep coming." She looked at him with burning eyes. "Then we must stop running." The next day, far from their home, an old secret was revealed. Daniel led the princess deep into hidden tunnels, relics of wars long forgotten. There, under the dust and silence, rested ships, ancient human warships built for battles no one remembered. Their engines slept, but their cores still pulsed faintly with power. The princess touched the metal, her fingers glowing. The ship responded, lights flickering to life. She gasped, "These..." "They answer to me. Daniel smiled faintly. Maybe they were waiting for you. The truth was darker. These ships were remnants of Earth's lost war fleet. A fleet the galaxy believed destroyed centuries ago. A fleet that could rise again. The princess turned to Daniel, her child in her arms. If they come for us, we will not be prey. We will fight. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Court, chaos erupted. Reports of the failed assassination spread. The council demanded answers. Why is she still alive? Why has the child not been silenced? Are we losing control? But beneath their anger was fear. If the princess had found power, if humans had awakened something hidden, then the balance of the galaxy would shift forever. And in the streets of alien worlds, common people whispered her name. Not in mockery, but in reverence. She who was called broken has brought forth life. She who was exiled may return as a queen. And with her stands a human who defies the stars. Back on Earth, as the fleet stirred awake, the princess stood on the deck of an ancient ship, holding her child close. The stars above seemed brighter, closer, as if watching. She remembered the laughter of the court, the humiliation, the exile meant to erase her. Now that same galaxy trembled at the thought of her return. Daniel joined her, his voice steady. This isn't just about survival anymore. It's war. She nodded, her silver eyes blazing. Then let the galaxy learn. The storm they created is the storm that will break them. Far away, in the silence of deep space, hundreds of ships began to move. Some belonged to the council, armed with fury. Others belonged to secret allies drawn by hope. The collision was inevitable. The storm had begun, and at the center of it was a child who had only just learned to breathe. The war. They never expected. The first thunder of war began not with a roar, but with silence. In the darkness of deep space, cloaked ships slid toward Earth, their weapons armed, their mission simple. Destroy the princess, the human, and the child. End the story before it could reshape the galaxy. But what the assassins, what even the Galactic Court did not know, was that Earth was not as defenseless as they believed. Inside the hidden hangars beneath the mountains, the forgotten human war fleet slowly awakened. Engines that had been silent for centuries hummed again. Blue light crawled across the hulls of massive ships, their designs ancient yet terrifying. These were not weak machines. They were relics of a war so brutal that history itself had tried to bury it. The princess stood in the command chamber of the largest vessel, the Aegis Dawn. Her silver eyes glowed in the dim light as she held her child close. Daniel stood beside her, his hand steady on the console. This shouldn't even exist, Daniel whispered. Our history book said these fleets were destroyed. The princess touched the glowing surface of the control panel. The ship responded, recognizing her not as an outsider, but as something more. Maybe history lied, she said softly. Or maybe they were waiting for us. Above Earth, the alien fleet uncloaked. Thousands of lights filled the night sky, blotting out the stars. Alarms blared across the planet as governments scrambled to react. But no missile, no satellite, no army on Earth could stop what was coming. The Galactic Court expected Earth to fall in minutes. They expected the princess to die like an insect beneath a boot. But they were wrong. The first human warship rose from the mountains, fire bursting from its engines. Then another. And another. Dozens of ships, then hundreds climbing into the sky like giants waking from a long sleep. The alien commanders stared in shock. Impossible, one hissed. The human fleet was destroyed. No, another whispered. It was only sleeping. The two forces collided above Earth. Beams of energy lit up the void, explosions shook the heavens, and the forgotten power of humanity was unleashed. The ancient warships fought with fury, tearing through alien formations. The princess, guiding the fleet through instinct she did not understand, moved like she had been born for this. The controls obeyed her touch as if the ships themselves recognized her bloodline and her bond with humanity. Daniel fought at her side, issuing commands to human pilots who had never imagined they would fly in such machines. Ordinary men and women thrust into the heart of a galactic war. On alien worlds across the stars, people watched in disbelief. News spread faster than light. Earth fights back. The princess lives. The child is real. For those long crushed by the council, hope burned brighter than ever, but the council was not ready to surrender. They unleashed their dreadnoughts, massive ships the size of cities, weapons capable of burning worlds. The sky trembled as their shadow fell over Earth. The princess tightened her grip on her child and whispered, "We will not bow." The Aegis Dawn surged forward, its cannons blazing, striking the dreadnought with ancient fire. The battle was chaos, explosions, screams, and fire across the stars. Earth itself shook under the storm. In the middle of the battle, Daniel realized something terrifying. The child, though only an infant, was awake. His small hands glowed, his eyes wide, and the ship responded to him. Panels lit up, power surged, and the weapons grew stronger. The princess gasped, holding him close. "He's connected." Daniel's voice was grim. "Then he's not just the future. He's the weapon they fear." The child's cry echoed through the ship, and across the fleet, systems came alive with impossible strength. The alien ships began to falter, their formations breaking. The tide of the battle shifted, but victory was not yet theirs. The Council's flagship appeared, larger than all others, a monster of metal and fire. Its weapons charged, aimed directly at Earth. If it fired, the planet would burn. The princess stepped forward, her eyes fierce. "Then we end this." She placed her hand on the console, and Daniel placed his hand over hers. Their child glowed in her arms, his tiny heartbeat syncing with the hum of the ship. Together they poured their will into the Aegis Dawn. The ship responded with a roar. Energy brighter than the sun erupted, striking the Council's flagship. The monster split apart, fire consuming it until nothing remained but debris falling into the void. The battlefield went silent. The Council's fleet began to retreat, their confidence shattered. For the first time in history, Earth had not only survived, it had won. The princess looked at Daniel, then at her son. Tears filled her eyes, but her voice was steady. "They sent me here to break me. Instead, we broke them." Daniel pulled her close, his voice rough but proud. "This isn't the end. This is the beginning." Far away, in the broken halls of the Galactic Court, panic spread. Entire empires whispered of rebellion. The people spoke of a new age, one where humans and aliens could stand together. And at the heart of every whisper was the name of the princess, the human and their child, the child of two worlds. The Council had wanted to erase her. Instead, they had awakened a storm they could never control. The return of the princess. The Galactic Court had not gathered in such fear for centuries. The great chamber built from crystal and steel was meant to inspire awe, not terror. But now, as the surviving counselors took their seats, the weight of defeat hung over them like a storm cloud. They had sent assassins. They had sent fleets. They had even unleashed their dreadnoughts, and yet the princess had survived. The human had fought back. Their child had lived, and worst of all, the entire galaxy had seen it. On the steps outside the court, a silence spread as a single ship descended. It was not the largest ship in the sky, but it was the one every soul feared. The Aegis Dawn lowered through the clouds, its engines burning with a quiet, terrible power. Doors opened. The princess stepped out first. She wore no crown, no armor, only a simple cloak. Yet her silver eyes held more authority than any robe of state. Daniel walked beside her, his jaw tight, his gaze sharp. In his arms the child rested, peaceful, unaware that his very existence had shattered an empire. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The infertile princess. The human father? The child of two worlds? And beneath the whispers a deeper voice began to rise. Not one of fear, one of hope. Inside the court, the counselors tried to stand tall, but their voices shook. "You come here in defiance," one of them spat. "You dare bring your half-breed child into this sacred hall?" The princess's gaze was cold. "You call him half. I call him whole. He carries the blood of both our people. He is the bridge you tried to burn." Daniel's voice cut through the silence. "You thought sending her to Earth would be a joke. But jokes end. And this," he gestured to the child, "is only the beginning." The counselors argued, shouting, desperate to hold on to power. But their voices no longer mattered. Beyond the court, the galaxy was watching. Every star system tuned in, every oppressed world holding its breath. The princess raised her hand. At once the chamber lights dimmed. The Aegis Dawn, waiting outside, sent a signal. Holograms filled the air, images of the great battle above Earth, the fleets burning, the dreadnought destroyed, the child's light awakening the ships. Every counselor saw it. Every citizen across the galaxy saw it. The truth could no longer be denied. "You feared me because I was different," the princess said. her voice calm but unyielding. You mocked me, cast me out, tried to erase me. But difference is not weakness. It is strength. She stepped forward, her child's silver blue eyes glowing faintly in the dim chamber. This child is living proof that your lies cannot hold forever. The galaxy is changing. You can fight it, or you can join it. For the first time, a counselor fell to his knees, not in fear but in surrender. Then another, and another. The chamber that once mocked her now bowed before her, but not all. From the shadows, the High Chancellor rose, his face twisted with rage. You think you have won? You think one child will undo centuries of order? You are nothing but a mistake we should have killed sooner. He drew a hidden blade of pure energy and charged. The princess did not move. She held her child close, her eyes calm. Daniel stepped forward. Faster than the Chancellor expected, his hand struck, disarming him. The blade clattered to the floor. But before the Chancellor could rise again, the child opened his eyes. A soft glow spread across the chamber, freezing the Chancellor in place. His body trembled, his weapon dissolving into dust. The princess whispered, "He has chosen." The Chancellor collapsed, defeated not by steel, but by the power of the future. The chamber erupted. Some shouted in fear, others cried in awe. But no one could deny it anymore. The princess, the human, and the child had changed the galaxy. She turned to the assembly one final time. The age of cruelty is over. From this day forward, no world shall bow in chains. From this day we rise together or fall apart. When they left the chamber, the stars themselves seemed brighter. The crowds outside roared in thunderous approval, voices chanting not just her name, but something greater. Hope, hope, hope! The princess looked at Daniel, tears shining in her eyes. I was sent to Earth as a joke, but Earth gave me a reason to live. Daniel smiled faintly, holding her hand. And now the galaxy has a reason to fight. Between them, the child stirred, his tiny hand reaching for the sky. In that moment, it was clear. This was not the end. It was the dawn of a new age.